Good morning, viewers, and good morning, all you listeners in different parts of the world, in Trinidad and Tobago and outside. I get texts all the time from people all over the place, telling me how they're looking and enjoying this program beyond the surface. I'm Gerry McFarlane, the host for this program, as we continue our series looking at chatting with members of the Tobago House of Assembly, government side, minority side, councillors, presiding officer, and everybody, who comprise this very important institution, space here in Tobago. So this morning, we've been continuing this. Today, we have the pleasure of one of the dynamic members of the Tobago House of Assembly, Assemblyman Terance Baynes. Assemblyman, welcome to the program, boy. When I tell people having you this morning, people are excited. They want to know if you're going to sing something. And it start off a nice debate, as which one you going to sing, boy? And they give me all kind of suggestions.
Is that right?
So, and one of the things they tell me, boy, I want him to sing When God Bless a Man.
Good morning, Mr. McFarlane, and thank you. We are eternally grateful, of course, for the management here at Tobago Updates for initiating this program. And of course, we thank you for your input in the thing. And good morning to all of Tobago and Trinidad and the rest of the world. With these platforms now, you can be on the moon and see this and see the program. So we are thankful that we have this opportunity, and hopefully what we do here would enhance people's appreciation for governance and appreciation for the work that we do in this space.
That's the objective, basically, some of it.
Yes.
Let's go straight into it. I mean, your responsibility, you're assemblyman for which area?
It's now called Bethel New Grange.
And that was, you have main part of it as you had before.
Yes.
But it just changed a little.
Yes, before it used to be Bethel Mount Irvin. That kind of took us to the north over to Black Rock, the Mount Hay area. When we see...
That is before?
Yes, well, just on that street between the basketball court and the community center, that was pretty much like the boundary, going straight across, and then, of course, heading south as far over as Canby gas station, staying on the right-hand side if you're going west. And all the way down to Buku Road, come around to Mount Irvin and so on. But with the recent change, the boundaries have now been shifted. So I stop now at Buku 4 Roads and then head back up towards the Montgomery Church and go down in that street that we call Bottom Road, taking you as if you're heading to Mount Irvin. But we come around on that road that you come from the Hope Town side, heading down. So all that area, in that immediate area there now, that used to be a part of the constituency, is now considered Plymouth Black Rock. So Mr. Niall George, that is his constituency now. So it's a very interesting development, but we try our best to give the kind of representation that we can.
All right, that's to give people an idea the extent of the geographical area, and how compact it is.
Yes.
And then first, let us go also to your responsibility as secretary for community development and sport.
Youth development and
sport.
Yes. Well, when we were getting ready, when the chief secretary was getting ready to put the team together, he asked each one of us which area we think we can serve best.
Well, you had an input. I get the impression sometimes the chief secretary kind of authoritarian,
Yeah, where you get that impression from? No, we had an input, yes, and I felt that this is the area that I may be able to serve best, because, of course, of my background in church work and the connection between church and the community and those kinds of stuff and so on. And, it's always a learning experience. That we continue to trust God ultimately and depend on our brains and brains we can borrow to get the work done, and we're moving ahead.
Yeah. All right. So let's go to the original you originally from the community of
Yes,
Bethel?
I am. Yes, I am. Yes, I
Yeah,
am.
all
Yes, I
right.
am.
And you grew up in that community. Tell us a little bit about your youth and your youth development.
Yeah. Well, I kind of grew up in Bethel and Patience Hill, kind of dual. You know, in those times, it was very common to have children sometimes grow up with their mother and father and the grandparents kind of thing, and they kind of move in between um, the homes and so on. But
That is what made the community so well knitted, boy. Just
yeah,
that kind of thing,
yeah. So
as
so
unstructured as it might look,
yeah. So
you know.
I had a kind of dual village impression on my life and influence. Um, so Bethel has always been, and Patience Hill actually, these two communities have always been rich in those days in the culture. Those were the days of the Prime Minister's best village, you know, and that kind of thing. And it was a heavy thing that Patience Hill, they used to have all these African dancing and their own production of
When
the
checking on
competition
it,
and so on.
Patience, it
Yes.
was a strong
Yes,
contender
it
indeed,
was. Yes, it
Yeah.
was. And I
People
used
used
to
to forget that way because of Monks in George and maybe
yeah,
Plymouth and some of
yeah,
these
but
areas,
they were heavily involved,
But yeah,
and
but
yeah, I used to play
Patience Hill was really heavy.
African drums, and therefore I was a part of the Best Village production. And then in the better side, I became heavily involved in the steel band movement from about 1975. I started playing and then eventually moved on and started arranging steel band music and that kind of thing.
All of that.
Yeah.
So you were playing steel band or with Deborah Moore McGinns and these young girls who
Yeah.
joined the movement first
Deborah's
and
brother Dwight.
Mhm.
We were all, we were part of what we call a stage side them days. We used to play on Sundays and Tuesdays, I think, in Mount Tubin Hotel. Then we used to play we used to call it Radisson Crown Reef at the time, and then also Crown Point on the Bay. Then Sandy Point and used to be Annersville Hotel. All these, yeah. So and that was an interesting run, and all these things I look back now and see how these things have kind of helped to foundate me as a person. The things I have appreciation for, working with people, the discipline of, especially if you're in steel band, it takes a certain discipline to lift pans and pack pans on trucks and be on time and all that kind of
And
stuff.
it's just not throwing pan and chuck, it's how you pack it and not
Indeed,
demand and make the thing
indeed,
out of tune
indeed,
and damage
indeed,
and all
indeed,
sorts of things.
indeed, indeed,
It's
indeed,
really called
indeed,
for some
indeed,
discipline.
indeed. And so that shaped, in my view, a lot of who I am today. And then of course, like I said, I got heavily involved in the music at that level. I didn't know how serious it was. Didn't know even my capacity at the time. But I love all these percussion type instruments, whether it was drumming, drum sets, those kinds of things I could play a bit of. And then of course the steel band is something that I love to this day. And I am not as good as most people, but I could play a song or two.
But how you got into the vocals and actually singing and
Well, that's the thing.
composing?
That the vocal thing, that's a Sunday school thing. That's a Sunday school thing. And I was in Sunday school in Patience Hill from very, very young. And the late brother Doddridge Peters, we used to call him Brother Pete's, and had a significant influence on me. And I always say when I grow up, I want to be a man like that, wearing a black pants and a white shirt and a black tie and hold a black Bible. I had no clue what it meant at the time. You understand? But yeah, and that gentleman was a standard bearer for me as a young person. The way he conducted himself as a human being. I try my best to emulate that and how I treat with my fellow men and how I live my life and so on. And God bless his soul. I have always said that he is one of the persons that have made an indelible impression on my life as a human being that walked the earth. And we try our best to, in fact, I hope that his influence lives on in some of the things that I do, how I conduct myself in this world, and so on. And so, Sunday school was the foundation of the singing and all that kind of stuff, singing all these choruses and all of that. And then, and after I really became seriously walking in the Christian pathway and so on, I started singing on a more serious note and writing songs and so on. In fact, the first album that I produced was a strictly what we call gospel calypso now, but it's calypso actually, and that is a art form or an expression rather that the church frowned on at the time, because
Which church was that?
the Pentecostal church that I was in.
Oh, okay.
The church, and we talking in the 80s, right? So I think the issue was not so much the music, is what the music identified with. You understand what I'm saying? But Caribbean people, we are rhythmic people, and God knows the bounds of habitation. There is a reason why I was born in the Caribbean and not in Israel for that matter, or wherever else where they have their own cultural expression and they use what is available to them in their own expression of God, and musically and otherwise. So it took a learning, and I was kind of pioneering at the time, because I really love calypso. It comes natural. You understand?
Yeah, clearly.
And we pushed on and so on, and now this type of expression is commonplace in Christendom at this point. So sometimes the sign of a pioneer is the arrow in your back, unfortunately. But we push on and we do what I'm doing now is also can be considered a kind of pioneering move of the merging of a pastoral work with politics. These two are not good bedfellows.
Serving people and serving God.
Yeah, but I mean the man, the forward thinking man will have an appreciation for that. But traditional church people do have a serious difficulty reconciling these two professions. It is like oil and water. They're not good bedfellows.
Yeah, I know. I remember in the early days, you had Archbishop Pantin introduced Sparrow to sing a song and steel band in the Catholic Church.
Yes.
And it was a big thing then. I mean, you bring in Sparrow to see him as a man, associated with all kind of a level of kind of not so nice songs, but as well as he had a nice repertoire of nation building songs, and it's one of those things that he did in the church at the time. I remember quite well as a young boy. So these are little challenges that you have, even in community, even in church, and so on, and not to mention politics.
Yes.
But how you got into this politics, I think it looked like a natural transition, really, given all the work that you have done.
Well, the truth is that I had this ambition to be a radio talk show host. You know what? I mean, I grew up as a little boy loving radio. Used to listen to Rennie Bishop, Billy Reese, the bad lad, and Dave Elcock. I mean, some of these younger people don't have a clue what we talk about here. You understand?
They really started radio,
yes,
talk radio.
When you have your Philips plastic radio outside, sweeping the yard and the radio, and you turn it and put up the antenna to make sure you pick up the signal. Yes. So I always say I would love to be a radio man, a radio announcer and thing. And I had this ambition and so on. And one day I went to Tambourine Radio to advertise a particular program that we were having. And when I got there, there was a discussion taking place about one of the telecommunication providers and so on. And so they asked me, I was standing there and asked me, what is your opinion on this matter? So I just answered the question as I thought and think. In my mind, I said, songing good boy, I find a songing sensible, So I left the station and I was walking through the door. I remembered a voice said, did you not say that you want to be on radio? And then go back and ask Mr. Leacock about this matter. And I went back and I asked him, and that was the beginning. And the next week, actually, that we started, I was invited and I started doing Wake Up Tobago and so on. With that program, some of the issues, of course, because you had to go into the community and get the information and talk to people and so on to try and optimize yourself for the program. And as I started doing that, I started having an appreciation for the plight of some of the persons who would call in on the show on a different day, and I became more sensitive to the civil part of our existence and so on. And I think that is where my interest in the politics began. Of course, I knew I am a foundated, old-fashioned Pentecostal man, so I'm fighting against it in my mind. You understand? Because your conscience is informed by your culture. You understand? Church culture, I mean. So I pushed through that, and I remember as we speak, my very, very, very first time on the hustings was up in Signal Hill. It was a time I was going in support then of Pastor K.C. Roberts, who was running for Tobago West.
Yes, I remember.
And I was just there in support because, we always had these conversations that church people, should get involved and thing. And I really think everybody was serious. You understand? So my naive self, I go on and take the lead and go on. I remember Mr. Benedict Armstrong, good morning if you're viewing, was there. He called me aside. He said, Pastor, you're sure you know what you're going to do? Because when you step out there tonight, there's no coming back, You understand?
That's the kind of advice Benny will give you. That's the kind of advice Benny will give you.
And I mean, I was enthusiastic at the time. I had no clue of what the future would be and what the fallout of that would be and all of that. And I stepped out there and give it my all. And it's a novelty. So it go have a nice thing at the time. But I mean, it had serious backlash and all that kind of stuff. But I realized as a man that there was virtue in having a voice on the political landscape. I've had the ups and downs. I've run as in an election, lost an election, and that kind of thing. And to lose an election, that is not an easy story. People think,
and to bounce back from that.
Yeah. It take me about 2 to 3 years to get over that. Losing an election.
Yeah.
You understand? But this time around really was, I believe, was divine the way it happened. So that pretty much is my political history. How I started.
But there was no particular person that influenced you to get involved in politics.
Well,
nobody came to you begging you and telling
no.
Well,
remember, I was not a candidate to come and beg. It's a churchman you're coming to. So it just, you understand. So a lot of people would hardly try to talk to a churchman because traditionally churchmen not going to. Yes, you understand what I'm saying. So I came on the scene as a shock and surprise. It was a kind of shock value to to whatever campaign it was at the time.
Yeah. So let us move on to the another area which I want us to deal with. You dealt with some of how you got into the politics and your youth development. I was only interested in that area to see how you made this almost meteoric rise to this kind of activity. And I really love your songs and your gospel ipsos and so on, the rhythm most of all, of course the content and the lyrics, as they would say. So I must congratulate you to start with respect to that kind of thing. And the way you persevered among many challenges that I'm aware of, and to become this respectable assemblyman. But as we look at the society today, Terance, you don't see that, as I said before, I like to see where people came from and what is happening today with our young people and who are the mentors for them, in the society. Sunday was International Men's Day, for example.
Yes.
I didn't see much hype. That grieved me, boy.
Yeah.
I didn't see much hype. Compare that to Mother's Day. Oh, Jesus. It's an economic day for Mother's Day more than anything else. Mother's love. It's something men missing. Something men not doing or men not being respected for. Too many men doing something contrary.
I mean, there are several things that have been working against men folk. And this is not today. And our society is not singular in it either. But the thing that I want to really applaud is the work of men like for instance, I was in Grenada celebrating the first International Men's Day conference and so on, and being a part of the conference and the conversation there, driven by Mr. Michael Stewart, Rondell Fields from Trinidad, and some of the ministers of the Grenadian government and so on. And I know that there's always been work. There have always been men making salient contributions, doing the thing right. But it seems as if it was not commercially viable to put those things in the front as per when you compare it with women. It seems to me that this society is set up in such a way, and I've been doing it for so long, that men have been branded a particular type of way, and it seems that there are always emerging support for that type of brand, these negative stereotypes that we have, and people make these comments without any data to support it. You understand? Up to now, nobody have come to the fore and really say that most men are as negative as they are portrayed to be. Nobody have not brought that data to historically, scientifically to say that is so. You understand? We certainly do not get the platform to be celebrated as we ought to. But I think that a tremendous amount of work is being done for us to try and rectify that. I don't know. We're playing catch up. I don't know. We may never catch up with the women. But I know that a significant amount of work has been done for us to accentuate the inputs of men and that kind of thing, and boys. I think the issue of our upbringing is a critical role. Our brain plays a critical role. The scripture is indeed correct when it says that you should train a child in the way that he should go, and when he is old, he wouldn't depart from it. That means good or bad, however you train the child, good or bad. You understand? It doesn't. The scripture is trying to infer that if you use some righteous principles, you will have a better child in society,
And a better outcome.
right? But the issue is training, and training is not something that you do. Training is not just formal. Training is when you're informal, when you're not even talking. Training is how you behave in the house. Training is how you behave when you go in the market. You understand? The children at those impressionable years are impacted by what they see. And so some of the negative things, in large part, I believe, what we see in society, it is how these young people have been trained by whoever is the most influential person in their life at the time, when the foundative principles are put on their conscience and enshrined in their character at that time. And so we see in society there's a lot of miscreants, a lot of behaviors that are not convenient and so on, and those things are consistent with some of the influences that people have had in the formative years of their development. We also see, though, that there are some people who have been in some of the most negative situations but make a different choice. You understand?
And come out of that.
Make a different choice. I don't know. Every now and again we get one story. I'm sure there are more than one. We get one story from, maybe from the B-term, a man come up and become a lawyer, and people make a big thing. But I am certain that there are more people from the B-term. Not everybody in the B-term will be pulling a gun and trying to shoot a man or whatever. I am sure of it. You understand?
Yeah, but, I really think we need more mentoring as men,
Yes.
successful as people like yourself might
Yes.
be, to
Yes.
have about 2 or 3 or maybe 10 young men that you just mentor. You make sure you check on them regularly, you make sure you
Sure.
interact with
Sure.
them, have a kind of little more than personal relationship with them.
Sure.
You don't just
Sure.
give them a $5 or $10 to buy a beer and so on, but get them a better way to do
Yes.
things, or a different way from
Sure.
what they're doing now,
Sure.
so that they're going to enhance their lives
Sure.
and so on.
Sure.
But we could continue talking about this for the whole morning,
That's true.
because there's
That's
a kind of important thing about
Sure.
me and these kind of issues. We want to go for a break, and when I come back, I want for you to tell me about some of the responsibilities, especially some of your priorities
Yes.
for your district
Sure.
that you
Sure.
have. When we come back from the break, we go quickly for a break and return, viewers. Yes, folks, we're back, and this is Beyond the Surface. And as you've seen, I have the Honorable, I should say, boy. Anyway, Terance Baynes, Assemblyman. And of course, you want to look at some of the responsibilities you have with respect to the communities and the
Yes.
community facilities
Yes,
in
yes,
Tobago.
yes.
What are some of the priorities? Some of these community centers, Plymouth is a good example.
Yes.
You know, really need to build over. That served its period. And that was one of the early community centers where the
Yeah.
actual community built
Yeah.
it. The
Yeah.
actual community built it. You know, not
So,
one drop of cement or sand come
right.
from government at that time.
Yeah, Bethel was the same. Bethel I actually worked on that Bethel community center as a little boy, actually. In Bethel New Grange, in terms of the priority, of course, the first thing would be people and representation. People have lost confidence in representatives and the whole representative process. You know, and you can't fault people because of what happened in the past and that kind of thing. So people just more about their own personal advancement, wherever they could get for their own development and so on and so on. So one of my challenges or one of my responsibilities and goals is to try and see how we can rebuild confidence in representation. So a significant amount of the things that I have done in the last 2 years was to that end. You know, every district will have its nuances. They go have and
Give me some specifics.
yes. So we're talking about, especially some of the younger people, you know, the trust in a representative as to when you come and we talk about what you're going to do for the community, whether or not it is something believable to them. You understand? What can they get out of that? What appreciation or respect even do they have for this person who claims that he is their representative? When I go to talk to them about being a part of the voting process, do they pay any attention to that? Those kinds of things and so on. What interest do they have in the development of the community, the space that they spend most of the time? So I started doing things to try and build the relationship. You know, we started, one of the first things that I did was because again, and Bethel, especially the Bethel village itself, we have a lot of high needs young people, right? High needs in the sense that some of it is historical, you know, even spiritual, I believe, and physical and so on. So in terms of, you know, you find that there are some flare-ups of violent activity. I have lost, since I've been the representative, I've lost 2 friends to gun violence already in Bethel, you know, and you'll have every now and again, you have these fights and that kind of stuff. So, and the label of Bethel continues to be, you know, bantered about as this place that, you know. So we start with this conversation, and I brought in prominent young people who have done something with their life and so on from some of the worst kind of situations, to talk with them and to have a kind of motivational thing for the young people and so on. And then we start doing some other activities. We use sport, we use some football competition, we use some all fours things. You know, one of the guys say, Pastor, we missing now is a 3-night church service. You understand? You understand? So we had as a prayer meeting up on the junction dedicated to community building and praying for the community and the young people and so on. I believe that we've done some work. We're certainly not here yet, but we've done some work in terms of trying to fix that disconnect that apparently was there between the people and the representative, right?
One of the things well, I used to have to deal with too when I was a member of the assembly, is dealing with people's expectation.
Sure.
Expectation of you,
Yes.
expectation what they desire and when and how
Sure.
they're gonna receive it.
Sure.
Or you
Sure.
treat with that kind of thing.
Yes.
It's a serious thing, you know.
Yes.
If it gets out of hand and don't treat with it, people have poor respect for you.
Indeed. And as you can appreciate, the expectations will always be high. I mean, the expectations to me are higher than even we, the people vying to represent, could appreciate.
And
Because-
this is what had to be communicated to them.
Yeah, because remember when we get in, it's not like, and now we have an appreciation for the importance of scientific data and so on. So you could know. We had no clue. I had no clue about the state at the community or the district in terms of joblessness. You know, I had no clue of what the social dynamic is. No evidence. You understand? Whether it's single parent households and the impact of that and those kinds of things. You have some general ideas. There are some things that are endemic to all the districts. So when I get into office now and then you have to deal with 100 plus and stuff of single parents, 90% of them mothers, and these mothers, out of that 90%, say 89% of this 90%, if you understand me, are mothers that have 3 children.
Or at least.
At least. And there is very little conversation about the fathers. I believe that conversation helps them to get to their objective. I do not believe that we have so much delinquent fathers in Tobago. I do not believe that at all. But if you come to present a case, because obviously I will ask, where's the father for these children? You understand? But suffice it to be so, you have all these people, 90% of them that come, and they want a job, of course, a early morning work. There is just so much of that is available. They will come to you and almost make you feel like you have jobs on a shelf and you just pick one and give them, you understand? And you have to manage that. You have to, I think that for me, I try to be honest with them. I try to be honest with them and try to explain to them what the situation is, you know, and you know, sometimes people will tell you, well, you know, they went by this one, because people will call me from all over Tobago, you understand? Because they say, you are pastor, you go help we, you are more heart, and these kinds of things people will say, you understand? And sometimes they even try to put you up against your colleagues with some of the things that you say, and you have to guard against that and guide the conversation.
I can tell you that is very serious.
Yes. You know, one of the things I do not accept at all, I'm very clear about it, that if you call me about some assistance in somewhere and tell me you call Pollard in settlements, and Pollard don't like to talk, and trying to brand him negative, I wouldn't have that at all. I wouldn't have that. I think that all of us are trying to do the work, and it doesn't help. You know, it doesn't help. We try and communicate and explain to people what we can do, and do that to the best of our ability.
So how you prioritize some of these things? You gave, for example, you gave a mention about single mothers. 90% of them may be single mothers, and you don't hear about the fathers.
Yes.
How you prioritize those needs or these expectations?
Yes, I mean,
that people have.
Yeah,
you have a system of doing that by visiting them. Have your team collaborate with them and see how you could. Maybe some may need immediate attention or assistance. Others will be a kind of long term or medium term.
I have the manager of the district office has his pulse on the community. You know, I mean, before I even came into the mix, these are people that he knows and that kind of thing. So he will advise me. You know, sometimes some people come to you and just from conversation with them, listening to the conversation, you make a decision there and then. But generally, the priorities are actioned dependent on the information that you have before you and so on. There are some people, sometimes you have about 6 priorities and you have to pick, you have to prioritize the priorities. You understand what I'm saying?
What are some of those priorities? You want to mention just a few?
Yes, well, you will
not mention any particular
right. You'll have people who, for instance, jobless, no food, and then when you see the place they're living in is a dilapidated place and so on, they have children who can't go to school. Those are things that you have to find a way to see what you could do.
Those are some of the priorities that I think you have to.
And you go as far out as you can. You try to get help where as much as you can and try to assist people. And that is a part of the cut and floss of the work, really. So we have to do that. We also try
And
to
you have to provide those services not only within your district, but even for the women
Sure,
in Tobago,
sure,
especially
sure.
if it's a
Sure,
community-related issue.
sure,
You know, for
sure.
example, a guy in Plymouth or Bethesda, amputated, 2
Yes.
feet amputated,
Yes.
can't move around too much. His wife died some years ago, no pension. He make up those papers right or something, not getting disability grant again because he reached 60 and that kind of thing.
Yes.
How the community development unit
Yes,
can
yes.
provide assistance for that kind of person.
Yes. I mean, there are several. One of the challenges that sometimes we don't know about some of the incidents until they hit like news and social media. Oftentimes we are not the first. I mean, there are liaison officers that work especially in the youth department and so on, doing some work in the community. Sometimes we don't pick up all the issues, but as long as we get the information, I mean, that's what the division is. It's about community development, and so we will find a way to assist people. You understand? And we work oftentimes with the division of settlements, who are their responsibility to try and provide low-cost housing and assist people with housing and that
And
kind
then
of
what
thing.
you will do, a case like that I just mentioned, you will
Yes.
provide, I mean, the man live in a dilapidated place,
Yes, yes.
and so on. If the son can't go to school, the son
Yes.
can't get a transfer. He originally was living with the mother in Bell Garden, and used to go to the school up there, Goodwood, and now he down with the father, and can't even go to school,
but
can't
maybe-
even get a transfer to
Yeah.
a school closer by. Boy, I tell you,
Well-
when they go to social, when they go to one department and say, why you ain't getting any pension, they say, well, you reach age and we can't help you with that now. That apply for somebody else to help you with it. Make up your
Well-
thing for the pension,
Yeah.
old age pension, and that kind of thing. I mean,
Well, I mean, I
why
can't-
are we so heartless, Terence?
no, but what I'm saying
why
is that, I mean,
communities
I
and
can't-
or public servants are so heartless
Well, I can't.
in some of these cases.
It may be reckless to pronounce on the individual situation without me having all the information right now. But I mean, I will take whatever information I can get from you because you are knowledgeable of this particular matter, and then we will try and prosecute that accordingly and see what can be done. Right? I know that sometimes the system can be a villain to some, especially when you are in a bad situation.
Yeah,
right?
boy.
At the same time, there are rules by which we operate, and the law is for the lawless. You understand what I'm saying, right? And sometimes I know we can't dispense with the rules. You understand? We have to find a way, though, within the confines of the rules, to provide the services that are needed. And I am sure that we can find flexibility once we are fully appraised of what the case is, because there is definitely the humanitarian component of the job.
Obviously,
You understand?
yeah,
So
people are
yes. So I on that note, I know that we
will
can assist.
pay some attention to that. So, where your other priorities are in your responsibility as community development,
Right.
youth, and sport?
Right.
We talk a lot about community. What about sporting initiatives
Yes.
that you feel
Yes.
you maybe started
Yes.
and want to complete?
Yes. Well, the division, I mean, the chief secretary has assigned Mr. Clark to handle youth and sport primarily in that part of the portfolio and so on. And we have been lamenting of the conditions of our sporting facilities around the island. And we feel that if we are able to optimize these, it will assist us in trying to treat with some of the delinquencies among young people that we have in the various communities. So
One of the first things I think all should do, just from my observation and so on, we have workers or staff assigned to some of these sporting facilities and units.
yes,
And
but
who is
there is
monitor them to
There is that.
ensure that they do proper work,
Yeah, there
or
is
at
that.
least they
Yes.
work sometimes.
Right,
At
there
least
is-
they work.
Well,
At least they work
well,
sometimes.
yes,
Who is
there-
monitoring?
Right. There are some deficiencies as it relates to these teams that are assigned to the various facilities, grounds, and kind of stuff, and to do the work that they have been hired to do. And that is a matter I know that Mr. Clark is pursuing vigorously. We talk about it all the time, and I know that there is a regime in place for us to treat with that. We around the island, we have just passed an executive council note where we're going to have a system to treat with the physical facilities, to optimize all the facilities, whether it has to do with lighting, whether it has to do with fixes on the courts, the parameters, and those kinds of things. And also to give whatever support we can give to the various sporting organizations on the island. Individuals that show some promise and that kind of thing. Some of them, I know that we have helped in the last fiscal at least 3 individual sportsmen and women that had tremendous talent that needed some assistance to go for trials abroad and those kinds of things. So a lot of work is afoot to treat with the sporting infrastructure. Of course, the Black Rock sporting arena and so on, we still need to complete some work in terms of the lighting and that kind of stuff.
You mean the beach facilities?
The beach facilities and so on. And as Mr. Clark said in another place, that there has been expressed interest to host international tournaments in 2024, I believe.
I think the ending of this month, they host the chief secretary.
Yeah. We're doing a thing. I told him, I said, listen, I go down. I mean, I am no footballer, but I will put on the clothes and look like one at least. You understand? And see, because we are, in the So and that
I would like to see it. A lot of the secretaries like yourself who have been talking to me and dealing with me on several issues. One of the main complaints that you will get, Mr. McFarlane, we have no resources, we have no funding in particular, or we don't have enough funding to do this A, B, and C. My approach to this thing is that, listen, you have football or sporting organizations or umbrella organizations who could apply to different entities, country and outside of the country, to get funding to do some of the things.
Yes.
You may not be able to do it as an assemblyman or a government. You could
right.
get international help to do different things, to develop a big facility and so on. But in terms of maintaining some of these facilities, you can say, well, listen, have an arrangement with some of these, the umbrella organization, although some of the umbrella organization themselves in a kind of situation of disarray. But sometimes look at what some of these little groups have and produce. They look at what athletes and so on come from Tobago with the little resources from themselves, and their parents and so on, capitalize on that and make them more resourceful so that some of the pressure will come off of the the division doing the particular thing.
I mean, the division, like I said, there are facilities to assist sporting groups and individuals. We just...
And you have to be careful that the funding you give to these plays is well accounted
for. Of course.
And not going in people's pocket. And they're well so structured and organized that they have an account and not keeping money in a check below together and all kind of stupidness.
And the Lalon Gordon Sport
Foundation
Fund, that also has been reactivated to also be a kind of support for sporting organizations as well. I can say without contradiction that these matters that we're ventilating here now are matters that Mr. Clark has on his mind as front burner issues, because we have had several conversations about these matters. And I am sufficiently encouraged and convinced that he has started to have the infrastructure in place to treat with some of these problems as it relates to the management, as it relates to the usage of the facilities and all these kind of things. Everything sport, I am confident that Mr. Clark is on top of all of that. And of course, as we talk about youth and so on, we have some infrastructural things we're doing with to give assistance to the youth movements in and across the island. We have these Y zones that we had set up as a safe space and a good space for youths to come and get connectivity and engage in work, academics and that kind of thing. But with COVID, a lot of these spaces became dilapidated for lack of use and that kind of thing. So we started renovating these spaces. The Chief Secretary has been saying, and I guess we are moving towards that, where we could have Wi-Fi across the entire island. And that is something that I believe will enhance what we're trying to do with young people as well.
Especially using that technology and
Sure,
other
sure.
networks
We
and
launched at the
platforms.
division what we call Spark. It is a platform for registration and interface of youth groups, FBOs, NGOs, and so on. A space where you can get all the information. You know, you have your own access. It has all the security protocols and everything. You get to register your group. You get to find out what's happening. You get to find out what kind of services the THA is providing, all these kinds of things. So it's all like a one-stop shop for youth and youth activity. We have that platform.
Before we go, we have to talk about two other things. First is there's some talk about missing lights at Susuland. Some people
Yes.
even saying they were stolen and they don't
Yeah.
show by who, and a lot of names has been calling with
Yeah.
respect to those lights. What is the
Yeah.
position with that?
Well, as you know, that was one of my, shall I say, the main project during the
Campaign?
6-6 time, the 6-6 time, and of course it was a campaign promise, especially by the residents that live in the immediate vicinity of the park, and so
It was a dark park or something
yeah,
like
the
that?
park, yeah,
And you tried to light it or
yes,
something?
yes, yes,
And how the lights disappear?
um
You had no responsibility for that.
no, well, what I started getting people to donate a light. You know, I mean, I did 2 lights. I got, some people, and the park, we put 8 lights in the park. They were solar driven lights and so on. They were not bright to be offensive in the night, but just keep the place lighted and so on. And I noticed that one of the lights went missing, right? I called the supplier.
They had to take down the whole pole to get the light.
Well, I'm not sure, possibly because of how the light is installed.
And by the way, those lights were installed by your initiative and had nothing
Yes.
to do with government or
No.
community development
Remember,
funding.
we were not in
government.
government at the time.
Yeah, that's right.
That was during the 6-6 time. So then I went and I noticed 2 gone, and then 3 gone, and then eventually 7 lights gone. Right? 7 of the lights. Somebody took down the lights, and I don't know what they did with it. You understand? But it is clear. I mean, the only light that is remaining is one that is right in the front, and that is the brightest part of the place. So it is very possible anybody tampering with, you might see them. You understand? But the point is, I just cannot understand why somebody will do something like that. I don't understand it. I don't understand it to this day. And so the lights, I'm thinking that we'll have to reinstall lights, and perhaps we will need to put some kind of cameras or something to try and treat.
Anyway,
but
so
I want
let's
to say,
getting back the lights.
well,
Or you're putting it
that
back?
was my initiative, so I would like to reinstall the lights and so on.
It's a nice, beautiful little park, It's
yes.
a nice area to go and relax and so on. You need to have a little more seats and things,
yeah.
What about other grants to other communities and so on? Anybody benefit from any grants from your division anytime real soon? Any community, any youth
Well,
group or anything
remember
like that?
we launched the faith-based organization early on, and the Tobago Faith-Based Council, and that is designed to give support to all faith-based organizations on the island. I have always contended that when it is time for politicking and all that, that faith-based organizations are engaged, by the various political aspirants, and and so on. And then the election takes place, and when the election is done, seems to me that the faith-based people are the only people that don't have a seat at the table, meaning that the issues and the matters for them to continue doing their work seem to not have any formal representation. And I took this note to the executive council, explaining to them that this is an integral part of the society. They have a role that they are playing, assisting us in trying to build the community and so on, and so we should try and provide for them. So we are now formally open for business where that is concerned. We have given out about...
And you really think the faith-based organizations should be given more priority than some of the struggling youth organizations
No, I'm
in the
not saying
community?
that has already been provided for. That is already, and we'll continue to optimize that. I'm not saying that they were not provided for at all, and I'm thinking that they should be included. That's what I'm saying. You understand?
All right.
Yeah.
Plans for 2004?
Well,
2024, sorry.
Yeah. We have. I mean,
We had two more minutes.
Yeah.
Plans for 2004. Let me hear where you're coming out
Yeah.
and saying what plans you have, and so that people could feel a sense of relief coming in 2004.
We have to
2024, sorry.
We have to continue with the road markets that we've been doing, where we showcase a lot of the young entrepreneurs in Tobago that come out of our skills training program.
That is part of the greenhouse development? Or
No. Well, that's a separate.
Tell me quickly about that
Yes,
after when you finish this point.
So we have this skills training project that is the flagship actually project of the division. I came and met that going on, and that has been going on successfully, and we're trying to build on that and so on. In fact, in 2024, in this fiscal, we want to have a formal Tobago skills training center rather than just having a 6 months thing. We want to have a formal skills center, and hopefully
where that will be established.
We are looking at the building that used to be the MIC in Patience Hill for that to set up that
I
center.
thought they acquired that already and rent up the place. But what you're believing, I don't believe Terance Baynes moving so slow.
Listen to me.
I hear all you visit all the place and all kind of things.
Yes, we did. And you, a man like you, have been in the throes of government before, would understand some of the challenges that we face from time to time. Nonetheless, we are determined to do that.
It's a nice facility to facilitate that kind
but
of
not
thing.
only that,
it was designed for that.
Yeah, not only that. The way people have subscribed to the program is so overwhelming, both the teachers and students, that we felt that it is necessary for us to have a full-fledged school. So we're going to move in that direction. There are several of the plants, the community center need repairs. Several of them. I don't want to start calling, but several that are priority for us, and we're going to move.
And you hope to do how many in 2024?
Well, as many as we can, because and I'm not just saying that as a generic figure, but there are some that we have to prioritize. We have to prioritize the one in Bacalet, as a matter of fact. That one I know we have to prioritize. We have to do some work in Bethel. We have to do some work in Plymouth. We have to do Bell Garden. We have to do Argyle, and so on. We have to finish the one in Charlottesville, right? That is some kind of multi-purpose type of facility because and so on. So we have that to finish. We also have to complete the pavilion in Goodwood and so on. And of course we have the Bacalet facilities. These are some of our flagship projects in the coming year to keep us occupied.
My final question for you, and I really must say I really appreciate you coming here and taking all my little questions and concerns. The relationship among assemblymen.
Yes.
And particularly for among the government side, is that good, or is still strained, or given all the issues that happened in the past year?
No, the relationship is a fluid one. It is a fluid one. We have a kind of we have a personality callaloo. You understand? And everybody just mix. The callaloo be, or you buy the bush and you have the pigtail or the crab or whatever. When you look at everything on the table, it's, but when you put everything and mix that up, it works out.
It's good to eat.
Yes, sir. Yes. So the answer to the question is that we have a dynamic group of assemblymen, councillors, and team. And of course, we are led by a dynamic leader, and we are heading
relationship with the government or Minister of Community Development and so on. Any advances or any discussion taking place just to see how they could collaborate? It's one country, yes, but one of jurisdiction over one place. But it's good to just have a relationship.
The relationships with some of the ministers in Trinidad is as good as the ministers would want it to be. That's the best answer I could give to you for that. Yes.
I remember Secretary for Agriculture. Keith Rowley was Minister of Agriculture. And from time to time we'll meet and chat and invite him to functions here. Yeah. He will invite me, even international functions.
And that's why I answered the question.
So people being exposed, both sides exposed to different techniques. So thing in agriculture, because both of us concerned about the development of the thing. I think we put the politics aside and we get these things working. Indeed. Some of them he may not be agreeing with me. Right. Some of them I may not agree with some of the things he wanted.
I think once we
must get to that stage, Terance.
Once we have Mr. McFarlane, my final one, once we have mutual respect as officials, everything gonna be all right.
Yeah. All right. It's good to see at least the Minister for Trade, Paula Gopi-Schoon, met yesterday and so on. I understand the Chief Secretary was there. We have to move more in that direction. Put the ministers or the people in place when they cross the line, or talk to them nicely, and if that ain't work, you have to talk to them hard. You know, but at least show some respect and let me behave. You make mention a while ago about human beings and humanitarian approach to different things. That is what we have to aim towards. You know, we live in this nice little place.
Agreed.
We try to make it even better in spite of the challenges and in spite of what does make the excuse for lack of finance. If we do more work,
no, but that's not excuse. That's not excuse. That's not excuse. That is a fact. That's
a fact, yes, but I'm saying regardless of how
say that is an excuse is not correct. It is a fact.
Yes, you have limited excuse, and that has been going on with every single administration since I know the Assembly, and I was there since the start. You know, we always have the issue of finance, and I'm saying you have to find a way to look beyond, not just to the government interest for finance.
But that is exactly what this administration is doing. So we are saying, yes, we acknowledge the fact that we have finance issues, but we are going to continue to work, which is what we are doing.
And not just work, work studiously, committed to do the work, work not for half hour a day, not going around selling pies and things and going back to your office at 10 o'clock and all them kind of things. People have to be changed, the public service have to be changed, and you as assembly people have to marshal the resources, particularly human resources,
I agree with
do
you.
much better.
I agree with you, and I am sure if you had the scientific data before you, it will say that there is evidence that we've been doing that. Yes.
I'd like to mention a particular, there's a chief secretary of our office, they call it what? Pension and leave or section like that, you know, that used to get real problems and things in the past where people get a pension and so on. They have some new initiative and new approaches to getting things done. I must applaud that. And one of these, I'm sure the chief secretary going to be boasting about that, how they operate at pension and leave and so on. People used to take years to get a pension and the gratuity and all this kind of thing. It is improving significantly.
But I see the Secretary of Education doing some work with people and the gratuity and thing. We don't know when last we see that. And those are, but I mean, you know, there are several things that we could point out.
That's right.
It's not. I don't think this program is a blowing your horn program. You know, I think it's an honest conversation about us talking about what's going on.
Exactly.
You understand?
Exactly.
Or else I could have been talking about everything that we do to say, well, we do this better than the former. But I don't think that is
you realize that we ain't talk about anything or we ain't compare. You're just saying what we want to do, what our priorities are, some of the limitations, and what we could do to overcome some of the challenges. That is what the program is on. And they want to know about this man. Wait, by the way, you ain't getting me a calypso thing before we leave today, boy?
But you ain't easy. The time gone it after 9.
Next time, we have to make sure we had a tune, boy.
Indeed,
when God bless a man, boy, I think that is one of the gems. I must commend you on all this thing as well. So, partners, thank you very much. It has been a wonderful experience this morning, and we hope you continue this level of honesty and sincerity with the other members of the Assembly. We have done fairly good so far. See you next week. Tomorrow, we'll be looking forward to Ian Pollard, the Secretary for Settlements and so on.
The darkest white man.
Boy, look, people like Ole can't make any and everybody can't make that joke, you know. So whitey Pollard, not so white. So he will be here tomorrow morning.
You know, at the World Food Day, we were crossing the road actually, him and I and a senior lady. Something we were saying, she said, wait, is you that's called Whitey? and you're black, sir?
Anyway, we will talk about that tomorrow. We'll be having a good discussion we have tomorrow. So, partners, thanks again, Gerry, and you know, we hope to see much more development take place and using whatever resources we can. See you guys, see you viewers, and of course, today was an enjoyment. Have a blessed day, all of you. Take care.